Oh, good evening, welcome to Rangers Radio. Join myself, Ops, here on the show tonight is our first Hall of Famer on the show, Dave McPherson. Evening, Dave.
Good evening, Ops. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I've had a busy day, but I don't think it's been as busy as your good self. What have you been up to today?
Well, a bit of work this morning from home, and I managed to go out and do more or less a 40-mile round cycle trip round about Edinburgh. So I've been managing to do that during a lockdown, trying to keep myself fit, physically as well as mentally. I think it's been a tough time for everybody concerned.
Good to see you looking after yourself, mate. Is that to keep with the nickname, is it? Big Slim?
Not really, but I've always managed to keep myself fit and enjoy exercise. So I think the older you get, you want to try and do something a bit more or less weight bearing. So the bike's a good alternative to jogging, especially when you get a little bit older.
Mature is the word that we'll use. Mature.
Yeah, I'm maturing well, hopefully.
Right, we want to talk about you, mate. Great career. We want to talk about your memories, obviously particular Rangers. We might not mention the 98 Scottish Cup final, but you never know.
Yeah.
But when did you realise that you had a chance to become a professional footballer? When did it start dawning on you? Because you made your debut very, very young.
Yeah, well, I think all promising young footballers, you think you're going to become a professional football player at a young age. Mm-hmm. So about 12, 13, 14, I was playing with Pollok United and we had a pretty good side, and Billy Davis had already signed for Rangers schoolboy form. And then obviously the scouts were coming down and watching him, and they managed to see me, and I get invited along to the sort of S-form trials and training midweek, which actually took place at Ibrox. So from there, the more you go along there, the bit more belief you get in yourself that, I could maybe have a chance of becoming a pro here. And Rangers were always a club I supported as a youngster. So, from there, again, I just managed to sign professional when I was 16, straight from school, which, it's a big ask. Mentally you're not ready for it, physically you're not ready for it. But, if you get the chance to join Rangers, it doesn't matter what age you are, you jump at the chance. And I did. I knew I still had a long way to go, but just through hard work, perseverance and listening to the coaches, then I managed to make the breakthrough at a young age.
Yeah, you made your debut in the first team at 17.
Yeah.
And a team, do you have any idea? There was some great Rangers players played in that team. Do you have any idea of the team that night when you made your debut? Would you mind having a stab at it?
No, I have no chance.
I'll name it for you then.
Peter McLeod was in goals.
Jim Stewart,
right.
John McClelland, Ali Dawson, Tom Forsyth, a young Dave McPherson, Ian Redford, Davy Cooper, both no longer with us, really skillful players. One of my all-time favourites, Bobby Russell, Gordon Gale, John McDonald, Tommy McLean, substitutes Billy Mackay and Billy Davis. John Gregg was the manager.
I know John Gregg was the manager because he signed me. But think about players like Tom Forsyth, one of my heroes growing up, fantastic defender. Davy Cooper, one of the best players I've ever played with. I've been alongside Bobby Russell. I thought Bobby was a tremendous player. Bobby was from, he lived I was brought up in Pollok, so he lived in a sort of posher area of Pollok. Well, I'm just outside Pollok. So he used to pick me up in the mornings to go to training. So some great names there. Tommy McLean, who eventually managed me when I rejoined Hearts. So it's a lot of great players there.
I mean, guys who went on, Tom Forsyth, Tommy McLean, Davy Cooper, these guys are known as legends, yeah? Tommy McLean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, players that, I watched growing up from school, going to Ibrox and getting lifted over the turnstiles when it was allowed to happen. Household names for me. So to get the chance to make your debut and play alongside them, especially as a defender like Tom Forsyth, he was a big hero to me. He was he was a better player than what people gave him credit for, but he just kept it simple. And obviously nicknamed Jaws for a reason. He was hard in the tackle, but he had a bit of pace. But he could play as well, you know. I wouldn't take that away from him. But great for me to get, you know, around these players who helped every bit along the way. They'd give you good advice, you know. If you made a mistake, they'd give you a bit of stick, but they would do it in the right manner. All top pros.
Yeah, you're right. All top pros with longevity. Even John McClelland, who was with us that long, but John had a successful World Cup, you know.
Absolutely. Moved down south, you know, and he's a great player as well. Lots of pace, John, and very good in the air. You know, good in the ball as well. But for me, to play alongside players with the experience, I just don't think young players get that these days. I think that's the biggest difference. Now you're 17 to get put in a team like that in your debut is fantastic, and it brought me on leaps and bounds. I could have played at academy football for 2 years, and you know I'd become static. I wouldn't have really learned that much more. But to play at that early age with so many talented, experienced heroes was just, you know, it was a breakthrough that I think all young players need.
The next season, you made 15 league appearances for once a young 18-year-old. You've got to say that's quite remarkable. You made a total of 23 appearances, 6 as sub, and managed 2 goals. And even in your first season, you managed a goal. Yeah. So goals were always part of your game, eh?
Well, it's funny because when I was younger, they were never part of my game. So playing youth football, I don't remember scoring that many goals. It would be a freak if I scored a goal. But when I became a professional football player, it just seemed to happen. I think I was used a bit more because of my height for set pieces. And I did play a bit in like a central midfield, attacking midfielder role at times as well. Mm-hmm. So I had throughout my career, I had a really good goal scoring ratio per game. It's roughly 1 in every 10 games, which is pretty good for a centre back.
Yeah, and your goals weren't always typical centre back goals, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
I scored some crackers. You know, left foot, right foot, some distance ones, and the odd sclaff, odd miss hit. But I've no doubt Ali in his heyday would admit to scoring a few miss hits as well. It's all about putting the keeper the wrong way.
You might have claimed some of your goals.
He probably did, yeah.
You might have claimed some of your goals. So you moved in and you're starting to, would you say, be fair, learn your trade at 18 years of age. You're in the first team. 15 appearances. John Gregg's team was sort of breaking up. He was trying to build a new team. That'd be fair.
Yeah, I think in that time it was difficult because the team had a lot of top players in it before. They'd win trebles. You know, Alec McDonald, Sandy Jardine, you know, John Gregg had played with all these players, and Tom Forsyth, Tom McLean. So a lot of players were getting supposedly towards the end of their career. So the team was breaking up. So I think it's difficult, no matter what team it is or what level you play at, when you've got a really successful team who are getting to that age and they try and mix it with new players coming in and younger players, it tends to be a little bit inconsistent. So that's what certainly happened on my sort of breakthrough years.
Yeah, and listen, your first year as a if you like a regular in the first team, you managed to get yourself playing in a Scottish Cup final. We were very unfortunate to lose.
I know, 1983. That was a fantastic day, apart from losing, obviously. But it was a great season for me, obviously because it was played a lot of games, a lot of big games, and then it culminated in the Scottish Cup final. But the interesting thing about the Cup final was, I think it was Eric Black that scored the winning goal for Aberdeen. And the very next day, I think on the Sunday, I had to fly out with Scotland under-19s. We were going to Mexico to play an under-19 World Cup. We went to America first for a training camp to Colorado, and then onwards to Mexico. And guess who I was sharing with for 3 weeks was Eric Black.
Did you met in the Cup final?
Oh, just about 1,000 times.
By the way, I've got to say, he was one of the finest leapers hanging in the air I've ever seen. He was fantastic there.
Absolutely, he was a really good player. Great in the air for his height. He hung for for ages. But really, a great guy. A really nice guy. We got on really well when we were away. Once I got over the trying not to think about the Scottish Cup final, I had to concentrate on the Under-19 World Cup finals in Mexico. Then it was great. It was a great trip off the back of losing the cup final, because it was a great experience to play Under-19 World Cup final in Mexico City and just outside Mexico.
Well, that would have helped you go over the I would say the pain of losing the cup final, but you'd be thinking 18 years of age, this game's easy. International trips, Scottish Cup finals, I've cracked it, eh?
I don't think playing for Rangers you ever think it's easy. I think you know how difficult it is, and I think being brought up as a supporter as well, you're more aware of the feelings the fans have got, the passion the fans have got, because you're a fan yourself, so you know how much it means to win matches and for players to do everything they possibly can to try and win matches. It doesn't always happen. We know that's sport, but you're well aware of thinking about next season and how can you make it better and try and improve yourself and improve the team.
Who was the guys in the dressing room you would have turned to for guidance then, Dave?
Ali Dawson was always a big help at that time. I think he was captain. And for a younger captain as well, he was always level-headed and sort of hung out about, not that we'd go to nightclubs or anything like that. I didn't do anything like that at all when I was younger, but he would sort of, meet up, go for a meal, and he was always one that was there to help out and advise you. And I think the fact he was younger and a captain, it helped a little bit more because he was more on hand, to understand, as a younger player coming at a team like Rangers, that it is difficult and you need as much help as you possibly can get.
The team was starting to change, where guys like Craig Patterson was joining us, and the next season, as you moved on, there was some familiar faces, but you won your first medal in a famous game for Rangers, because John Wallace took over for John Gregg. That was a sad day for the club when John Gregg left it. You'll always be fond of him, I suppose, because he signed.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a massively sad day for me because John was one of my heroes, greatest Ranger ever. For somebody that's your hero when you're a young kid growing up, to sign you as a schoolboy player and then sign you as a first professional contract, that's a difficult moment when he has to move on and you're still there. But through your career, you learn that's football for you. And then Jock comes in, and Jock was just, Jock was a great manager as well. Great manager.
Different for John?
Different. I wouldn't say it was too much of a difference. I think John was a younger manager. Jock came in, he'd been there before. He'd been down at Leicester. So been about very experienced. Whereas John, that was, I think, more or less, that was his first job. So John was great. I loved, obviously, as I said just previously there, somebody that's a hero takes over and, certainly helped me in my debut. So I'm forever grateful to John for giving me my chance. So slightly different. But Jock Wallace was always sort of blood and thunder, wasn't he? He's well known for that it's about a battle and getting the best out of his players. And he did that. He managed to turn the club around in a short space of time and win a trophy, not long in his second time back.
That 83-84 season, there was a couple of big games for you. Obviously, we'll touch on the League Cup final, but you'll always be remembered for the centre-back that scored 4 goals in an away, a European tie.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody about that the other day there, and they're like, how did you score 4 goals as a centre-back? And I said, well, as I just said to you previously there, that when I turned pro, I just seem to score more goals for some reason. But yeah, playing against Valletta and Malta was a unique experience, my European debut, and I managed to get on the end of like quite a few crosses, but it was only one header. I think it was two left foot and one right foot. I've yet to see the highlights from that game, so if anybody's got the highlights, please share them. I'd love to see it.
It was a close tie. Obviously, they fought back well at Ibrox there.
Yeah, I remember getting a row off Jock Wallace because he said to me, the press will want to speak to you, just be careful what you say. So the press were speaking to me and they said, what do you think the score will be for the second leg? And I said, I think it's going to be 10-0. And I got a row off him for saying that. And then after the match, we obviously won 10-0 in the second leg. He was looking at me and I was smiling over. I said, I better stop smiling. So, there's only going to be one winner here. It's not going to be me.
Did you value your teeth?
Yeah, absolutely. He certainly, like, I know Alex Ferguson, if Jock gave you a hairdryer moment, you certainly knew about it.
Right, we'll move on to your first medal then. League Cup final, a day that a lot of Rangers fans of a certain era will think back fondly. Jock could put the passion back into our club. If you can look back at that on YouTube, that game, we played really well, but we lost bad goals. But you weren't involved in any of them, Dave. But it'll be known as it was the beginning of the legend. It was Ali McCoy still.
Absolutely. That Ali obviously scored a hat trick. But I was actually playing midfield that day.
Mm-hmm.
I was asked to mark Paul McStay. So I managed to do that and hardly give him a kick of the ball. So apart from Ali scoring the winning goal, I get the sponsors man of the match for my midfield performance, which again, I'd never played midfield when I was younger. It was only when I became pro that I get thrust into this different position. Like, there you are, big man, go and you play midfield, position you've never played before. But that's good management. You know you can get the best out of your players, and it worked.
Rangers team that day: McCoy, Jimmy Nicholl, Ali Dawson, John McClellan, Craig Patterson, Dave McPherson, Bobby Russell, Ali McCoy, Sandy Clark, John McDonald, Davy Cooper, with the substitute Colin McAdam and Hugh Burns. Great result for the club. We were underdogs, eh?
Absolutely. Again, just the changes that happened at the club. Celtic were doing really well. But, as a Rangers player, you go out there, you believe you're going to win every game. And you've got the players on the pitch that can win games for you, as Nally, Davy Cooper, John McDonald, talented Bobby Russell, talented players. So you knew our team was every bit as good as Celtic's, but you still have to go out and prove it.
Yeah, it was a special day for the fans, and Big Jock enjoyed it a lot. I remember watching the DVD of the celebrations. I think he had a couple of sherbets the night.
Yeah, I actually seen a video recently of it. It was just us coming off the bus before the match and getting into Hampden. And he was buzzing for it. He was up for the. I think he basically said, "I'm up for the fight." You're up for the fight, the battle, the battle fever, and you loved that, and it was great. It was great times.
It was some man, great result. So you're 20 years of age, yeah. You played international, you played European football, scored 4 goals. You've got your first medal in the bag. Your career's going great, eh?
Yeah. I think playing for Rangers, back in the day, then was, Rangers were regarded, Celtic as well, regarded as top teams in Europe, if not the world. So you're playing for one of the top teams, that anybody could have to play for.
Did you feel pressure? Did you feel pressure?
I think players that are homegrown feel more pressure than players who are maybe brought in, because they don't realise or understand the background to the club and what it means to the supporters. Maybe that's changed because there's been a lot more overseas players coming in, but I definitely feel that homegrown players have it tougher to begin with anyway.
the teams that you played in, there would have been a lot of Rangers supporters in the team,
Absolutely. I think that's what managers would go for, as Rangers supporters, because they know what it means. And it's all about, I think when you're recruiting players for a team, it's not just about getting the talent, it's getting the right players with the right mentality, the ones that, understand pressure and understand what it's like to walk in front of 40,000-50,000 fans at Ibrox week in, week out, and to perform. That's not something that you're taught. Going back to when I was 17, you get thrust into the first team. You don't go to school and get a college or university and get a 4-year degree in how to handle pressure. It's overnight, and that's why I said it's important you've got experienced professionals round about you, because they make all the difference.
The next season, you were part of the League Cup winning team again, and then you played in a famous tie, a European tie against top players, against Inter Milan at Ibrox. Yeah, I mean, they were a good side.
They were a brilliant side. We played the first leg away at the San Siro, or the Giuseppe Meazza or something it's called. Well, I call it a San Siro anyway, and they were fantastic. I mean, they were for me, again, as a younger player playing against top quality opposition, it was a lesson. That there's a long way to go before you think you're a player. And sometimes you need those knocks to make you appreciate that you still have a long journey to make it as a top player, because they had a top strike force. Alessandro Altobelli and Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, two of the best players in the world at that time.
Yeah, some player. But do you remember Ali's miss that night? We'll not talk about that. Do you remember that?
I do. I don't like talking about Ali's misses. I could be here all night.
That could be a whole show on its own.
I hope he's not listening.
Oh, I know. He'll come looking for us. But in the away, and obviously we lost heavily in the away leg 3-0. But we were very unfortunate not to come through. And Big Jock, he played direct football that night. If I remember right from memory, he put Big John McClelland up front beside Davy Mitchell.
He did. It was quite obviously typical Scottish night, quite wet and windy. So it was definitely direct route. It wasn't your Dutch total football that night, that's for sure. But you play to your strengths, and we had him under pressure from the word go. And as you said, we're very unlucky not to go through. They managed to score the away goal, so that was unfortunate. But it went to the wire. They were hanging on at one point, which is a great credit to Rangers and all the players that played that night. They certainly made it tough for them.
The team that night was McCloy, Dawson, McClelland, McPherson, Patterson, Redford, McKinnon, Fraser, Ferguson, Mitchell, and Robert Pritz. And all the few teams I've named already, he's the first foreigner that's appeared, Robert Pritz. He was a lovely player, wasn't he?
Robert was a great player, just silky on the ball, left or right foot, he could play. I don't think he was a player that adjusted easily to Scottish football, because it was more long ball, especially that night. But when it was a football event, he could certainly play. Very skillful. He was one. Me, him, and Ali Dawson were quite friendly at the time as well. So we hung about, and his English was great. Very, very good, and a great lad as well. Very, very funny.
I played for a long time. I think he was playing junior football for a long time after he finished, wasn't he?
Yeah, he just loved playing. Loved football like we all do. And he had a few good moves as well. I'm sure he played over in Italy, a few other countries, apart from his home country, Sweden.
Yeah, he played in the European Cup final as well,
Yeah. Quality player.
Good player. So we're moving on, and obviously the Jock era has come in, and it's not working too well. We've had some success, but we're just maybe no challenging for the league as well as we would like. And then we get to 1986, and I would say that the club and Scottish football changed forever when a certain Mr. Souness walked in the door.
Yeah. Well, I think there was, towards the end of that 86 season, there was changes happening. There was boardroom level, there was changes, and there was talk of, a complete, new thing ahead, management and playing style. And then there was an announcement that Graham became manager. Well, I think Walter took over for the last game, or the last few games. And he knew the players from his time in Scotland, and had a chat about what was going to happen the following year, or what hopefully was going to happen. But it was a great time to be at the club, and a great time to be a supporter, because of exciting things happening, and they were beginning to bring in big name players like Terry Butcher and Chris Woods, who were England internationals, one obviously England captain, and again for me, playing alongside Terry was, another step in my learning process. Somebody's England captain, left-sided central defender, won the Cup Winners' Cup, sure, a UEFA Cup. So a great player and lots of experience. Again, great for me. You can only learn off that. You're not going to lose out of it.
What was your first impression? The first game of the league campaign, it went a bit Pete Tong, didn't it? When Graham gets set off.
Yeah, there was a few funny games to begin with. I think it was more passion than football, but it showed that what it did show was the club, the players were all together as one, and that was an important part of it. When Graham gets sent off, it was a funny time. I think the fans were up in arms, not the Rangers fans, the opposing fans, for the tackle. But we all get booked, and I think we all received a booking after that as well from the SFA. So it goes to show that they're still making mistakes. They've been making mistakes back then, they're still making mistakes now.
Even the day, don't get me started.
I know. That's a whole new other show.
Oh, if that's not a red card, I don't know what is. Yeah, I really don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. What do I know? That year, 1986-87, was the year that you made the most league appearances for the club in your career. You played 42 games, mate. Did you never get injured? Yeah.
I was always quite fortunate, but getting injured. I mean, I dislocated my shoulder when one of my first games playing for Rangers.
Really?
I think when it was when Jock was there, it was a midweek match, or it was a Saturday match. I can't remember. I dislocated my shoulder. Then I played the next week. I get told to strap it up, and that was it. I played on.
How long?
I don't think that would happen. Oh, a couple of years, I think.
He'll be back in 2 to 4 weeks, eh?
Absolutely. I just get strapped up and played on. And I'm sure I played a midweek match against Falkirk, and it was a cup tie, and I played with it strapped up, and I scored a goal. And I was like, I don't know how I got through it. And there was another game that I was really ill. I mean, it was like not like coronavirus, but it was like the flu, that tonsillitis, and I had to get my mum to phone up the club, and my mum get put through to Jock Wallace, and Jock Wallace said, "Get him downstairs now. I need to speak to him." So I get dragged out my bed. This is a Saturday morning. I get dragged out my bed, pulled downstairs, shivering, sweating, and on the phone, I wasn't able to know who it was. I was delirious. He's like, "Son, I'm sending a taxi for you. Get yourself over here now. You're playing." I was like, "Oh my God." So I had a couple of tablets, or I don't know what I took. A couple of tablets. Had to get dressed, Rangers outfit on, into a taxi, straight to Ibrox. And I can remember the physio and the Dr. Cruikshank going, "No, he can't play. He's not well." I was white, I was like shaking, white. Joe gave me a double whiskey before the match. And that was it. That was it. I had to go out and play. Aye, double whiskey. He said, "Yeah, son, that'll make you feel better." In that age, you're not going to argue with a manager like Jock Wallace. "Okay, boss, I'll take that." Took it, went out and played. And then I think after the match, I was like 3 days in my bed. I couldn't move. I was just ill. But fine. I was fine after that. There was no long-term damage, thankfully. But again, I don't think that would happen these days.
That's what you call sports science, sir.
That's sports science for you, exactly. Aye. They don't measure your body fat back in those days.
The 1986-87 season was your first championship medal, yeah, and it was a roller coaster. You also received your first red card away in a loss to Aberdeen. I mean, at that time, Aberdeen were a force in Europe. Dundee United were getting to the final of the UEFA Cup. Scottish football wasn't in the place it is now. The teams were, let's say, every game was more competitive than it is at the moment. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a really competitive league, and if anything, Rangers were probably, certainly not as good as what they should be, because they were going through a rebuilding process. And as we mentioned earlier, that happens, and you're trying to bring new players in and young players through. It takes a bit of time, so I needed a sort of a fresher impetus to get the club going again, and that's obviously what happened when Graham came in and Walter. They turned the club around, and it helped having a bit of money to spend and be able to go and target the right players. And with Graham's background playing in England, he was able to attract them as well. So it was a great time to be there, and to win the league, that was great at Aberdeen. But as you mentioned there as well, also get sent off at Aberdeen. And I can remember what happened. There was a corner, and I was marking Davy Dodds, and Davy Dodds was just, he would always niggle you and like try and nip you or push you or pull your jersey. And me being a little bit taller, so I just try to shove him out of the way, but I used my elbow. And I heard a big uproar, and the referee came over to me and says, "Right, Miss McPherson, I'm going to send you off." I'm like, "What for?" And I looked round, and David Dawes is lying on the ground holding his nose. There was blood everywhere. So with my elbow, I've accidentally caught him in the nose. So it was a red card, but it wasn't intentional. But it just shows you, if you lift your arms at all, there's always a chance you're going to get sent off. And unfortunately that day, I caught him in the wrong place. I did apologise after the match, and he accepted it.
You obviously spoiled his natural good looks,
Well, I did say that. I did try to make you look better, Davey. It's obviously not worked.
But did you learn from that incident? Did that teach you a lot about the dark arts of the game? You have to be smarter.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that you're learning in every game you're playing, and players will try and get away with things, and it still happens. It's not as easy today because of the camera and video replay. But back in the day, you could be a little bit cuter about it. It's unfortunate that I didn't mean to catch him if I'd caught him anywhere else, I'd got away with it. I think he might have bent down as well, and it was just bad timing. But there was another incident that happened at my time at Hearts. If I can tell you about that later, that was another one.
That particular season, when you were part of the defence when they went in that marvellous run, which the 7 games at the moment doesn't look so hot when you look at that run that you've completed, but he's blew it when he's lost a goal to Hamilton.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about football. You can beat as many teams as you want. There's always that result that you're going to lose the game. We had so many chances in that match to score, and yet they have one chance and then they score. That's football for you, and cup dice for you. You can do whatever you can play as well as you possibly can, create as many chances, and sometimes it's not your day. And we carried a bit of luck that season as well. We went for it, so there's always that one game, as I said, that it's not going to go for you or with you.
I think that was the result, and the spun us on to win the league, if I'm being honest. I really do.
I would have thought so. Yeah, I think it's sometimes you need those games. If they'd won that game easily, they might have become a little bit complacent. But losing that game, it made everybody sit up and think, well, listen, if Hamilton can beat us, other teams can beat us. So we need to double our efforts here and realise that not any team's unbeatable, so you can lose. And then, went on to win the league, which was great. That was the most important thing, anyway, was winning the league.
Yeah, 11 clean sheets you had before that. You were part of that, 11 clean sheets.
It's great. It was a great time to be there, and I was playing right back a lot of the time, which was again, is not my natural position, but I think, again, being a Rangers fan and having the honour of playing for Rangers, like playing in midfield, if it's a chance of playing for Rangers, you just do it. Do the best you possibly can.
You say that, see as a pro, Davey, is your first priority just to get that shot and get in the team? Are you worried about it?
I think it's different now. I think the way players are treated. But my time in football is about, playing for the jersey, playing for the club that you love, and doing the best you possibly can. Sometimes it doesn't work out. You have to play in different positions. It might not suit you, but you just do it. I wasn't going to complain. As long as my name was in the team sheet, that was the most important thing for me. I'm playing for Rangers, the club, one of the biggest clubs in the world to me. So that was the most important thing.
When we won the league at Pittodrie, the team had changed, evolved again. Obviously, Chris Woods, Graham Roberts, Terry Butcher, all the international, Graham Souness himself had returned. But you still had that Scottish team through the team. Obviously, the team at Pittodrie was Chris Woods, Graham Roberts, Stuart Monroe, another unsung hero, Graham Souness, yourself, Terry Butcher, Jimmy Nicholl. Then it was Robert Fleck, Ali McCoist, Ian Durant, and Davy Cooper. So the sort of brains of the team were still Scotsmen then.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And I think it was a great mix between, the experience that Terry Butcher had, some of the goalkeeping ability of Chris Woods. It just gelled really well together. That helped big time. There's, I think, one or two other English players that came in, Colin West at the time as well, a striker. But it was the main players were definitely Terry and Chris. And that was the core of the team. If you get the core of the team right, then you're always going to have an opportunity to win trophies.
Was Terry Butcher up there with the best centre halves you played with, mate?
Definitely, yeah. Terry was a great lad, great leader, and good character. And again, just being left-footed. Any time I played, I was obviously mainly right-sided, so it's always a good balance. I think that helps in trying to build a team as well. But being England captain in the World Cup finals for his nation, a lot of respect for him. Do
you think he'd realised what he'd walked into when he came to Rangers? Different club, different pressures? No,
I don't think so. I think a lot of English players are aware of, the Scottish the set up, between the big clubs, Rangers and Celtic. You just need to look at the history books, and that tells you everything. But then when you become mixed in it and you're living in it, amongst it, that's the wake-up call that you realise, well, yeah, I realise I'm sort of world-class clubs, but it means a bit more. And somebody can mention a club that, not really got a great support. They've done really well, but when you get the passion you get from the supporters at Rangers and what it means to the supporters, there's very few clubs in the world that have that, to that sort of level and degree.
The game at Pittodrie, when we won one each and the fans were all in the stadium, I don't know if that would happen in modern football, but the atmosphere was just electric, and the scenes, I remember grown men crying because we hadn't won the league for 10-year. I wonder what it'll be this May, but it was a great day. Must have been a great trip back in that bus. What we've lost, Dave, but the famous game at Pittodrie, Dave, well, the atmosphere, the fans, and I've got to say it's one of the few pitch invasions I've been involved in, but what about that bus trip back to Pittodrie? It must have been special,
It was incredible. I mean, the whole day, the build up to the match was quite nerve-wracking. You know, we knew obviously we had an opportunity to win the league. But once the game started, I think every player, Rangers player, was really confident we were going to win it. So when the final whistle went, it was a sense of relief. But what a night, what a day! And I mean, it took us about an hour to go off the pitch because of the pitch invasion. I think I came off with no boots for some reason. I don't know why. I know. I think there's shorts and everything missing. But I think the Rangers fans had waited a long time to experience that. So it was long overdue, and you couldn't blame them for going out there and enjoying it. But we had a great time on the way back in the bus. We stopped off at a few places, and it was just party time. It was brilliant.
I had a special night. I came back in the wrong bus, but that's another story. But I come back in the Cannon Park bus. I don't know what happened, but it was great, fantastic, and it was great. And hopefully this may will be similar. But obviously, Graham Souness has come in. What was your relationship with Graham like?
Well, I think Graham, he was a younger manager. I think 33 at the time. So, you know, a lot of respect for Graham as a player. And as a manager, but he tended to sort of not picking the younger players or the players that have been there before. I think he was always looking to change, and you felt like, you know, if anybody was going to get the blame, it'd been the Scottish boys that were already there. Maybe he was just trying to be tougher on them to make them better. But we certainly responded that year to win the league. But he was going well with Graham. You know, I think all the players did, but he demanded high standards, and that's what Rangers managers should do.
So obviously, there's been an offer, or I don't know if it was an offer that was made for Hearts, or Rangers had said, "Do you want to move to Hearts?" Or, was that a big decision for you, or was it an easy decision?
Well, one, I didn't want to leave Rangers. I was still under contract, but I think at that time, Graham phoned me up and basically said, "Well, I've got an offer from Hearts, and I think you should go." I've accepted it. So it was a bit of a blow because I'd just spent a week before with Terry Butcher and Chris Woods enjoying the cup final. So it was a bit of a shock. But yeah, you've got to think about your career and the best moves. So I sat down and thought about it and thought, what do I do here? Do I stay somewhere that, although I played, you know, a lot of games for Rangers that season and won the league, then I know he's going to bring fresh players in, and if they're going to get a place ahead of me, then I want to be playing football. For me to continue my progression, I need to be playing football. So I spoken to Hearts, and obviously Alec McDonald and Sandy Jarman were in charge at Hearts. So it was a bit of an easy sell when you've got two coach and manager who, again, going back to being my heroes, were my heroes when I was younger, watched them growing up and admired them immensely. And they sort of explained what Hearts were trying to do. And they seen me as a pivotal part of building a new team. And I thought, well, you're better to be a club that you're wanted rather than to be a club that you're not wanted. But if you love them or not, it's a career. And you need to think about playing football and continuing your career. And so at that time, well, if he's accepted an offer, I'm better to. The way I looked at it was taking a step to the side rather than a step back. So I did. I decided to move, and you know, I never looked back.
Do you think ultimately for your career it was a good move?
Absolutely. I became captain at Hearts. At 26 and my 27 Scotland caps are playing for Hearts. So playing for the European championships in the World Cup final. I was playing for Hearts at the time. Didn't win anything at Hearts. That was the only downside until I went back the second time. But as a career progression, it doesn't get much better than that. Captain in the club and represent your country in the World Cup finals and European Championships. And that year I joined Hearts, I think we finished above Rangers.
You did, yeah. You were runners up. Rangers were third, yeah.
Yeah, and I scored against Rangers at Ibrox.
Yeah, I remember
we beat them 2-1.
I remember
it. It just came back to a career progression. It all worked out. You never know when you make that decision, but you need to think it through, and it did. It worked out for me. So, and then obviously Rangers brought me back 5 years later.
What's the difference when you went to Hearts? You've been a schoolboy. You went to Rangers. You've grown up with Ibrox. You know the pressures. You go to Hearts. Is there different expectations, or do all professional teams expect to win?
Well, there's different expectations when you play for Rangers, definitely. Right. I mean, Hearts, don't get me wrong, you want to win. But if you manage to win something in the year, that's a major success. If Rangers manage to win one thing in a domestic year, that's not successful. Mm-hmm. That's all good. We've won a League Cup, and that's not a successful season for Rangers. Rangers need to win championships, need to do well in Europe to be successful. So that was a big difference. So you're finishing second in the league for Hearts that season was successful. It was a great season for Hearts. Qualifying for Europe was great.
A successful period you had at Hearts, but obviously they'd run into a wee bit of trouble, which happens in Scottish football occasionally. And I had a wee rumour that you discovered a fax that been sent with an offer had been made to Rangers for you.
No,
Hearts at the time was hiding it from you.
No, it's partly like that story.
Right.
I was actually in the office at Hearts on the phone talking to a pressman. That back in the day, that's what you did. You didn't really have mobile phones, so they would phone the club and they would ask to interview a player. So I was in the office talking to, I think, somebody from the Scotsman, and there was a fax came through on the machine.
Right.
The phone and the machine, and obviously, as you do, being nosy, you're just talking on the phone, and you see the fax coming through. It was a fax from Southampton Football Club, and they'd offered £1 million. £1 million, and I can see it coming through. I'm going, Southampton Football Club offer £1 million for the services of. Then I seen my name. What do? You're on the phone to this press guy. I'm like, we'd love to hear this story.
Well, you give a scoop.
I know. So I politely hung up and then just disappeared out of the office. But they never told me about it. That was a strange thing. They kept it quiet. And to this day, apart from me mentioning it there, not a lot of people knew about it.
Mm-hmm. So how did Walter was in charge of Rangers at the time? You played World Cup finals. I'll come to that when you played 3 games in the World Cup final, 3 games in the European Championships, 2 relatively successful campaigns for Scotland, a wee bit unlucky in both occasions not to qualify. You're maybe at the peak of your powers. Walter comes in and wants to bring you back for your club. What were your emotions?
I sort of got wind of it beforehand, so I was prepared for it. And back then, it was pre-Bosman, so you didn't really, now if you were out of contract, you would basically you make the decision what club you go to. So back then, Rangers made an offer. So it's not I didn't want to go back to Rangers. It was the fact that nowadays you would have more choice of what you wanted to do. So when Walter came in and asked, would you want to come back to Rangers? I said yes. He said, well, I've agreed a fee with Hearts for you. And that was it. That was it done. It's quite as simple as that. And many people say you shouldn't go back to the same club twice. I've done it on a few occasions, so I proved that theory wrong as well.
So you come back in the 92-93 season, you've come back, you've walked in the door. And I'm going to put it to you, Dave, that we do a lot of these shows and we get a lot of people of different generations. For a certain generation, they will say that the 92-93 team is the finest Rangers team they've seen.
Yeah. It's always difficult comparing teams from different eras, because I look back to the 70s and Rangers won 2 trebles. I think it was 76 they won the treble, and basically all Scottish players. But a different era then, but they were doing well in Europe as well. But you know, if you compared the Rangers team to even, you know, the teams that are going about in Europe now, the 92-93 team, they would hold their own with any team, a lot of the top teams in Europe, definitely.
So they did. We just won the double the year before, and you come back and you started that season with a game against St Johnstone. The team was Andy Gorham, Scott Nismet, Davy Robertson, Richard Gough, Dave McPherson, John Brown, Ian Durrant, Stuart McCall, Ali McCoist, Mark Haitley, Peter Houstra, substitutes, Oleg Kuznetsov and Paul Rideout. Yeah.
Yeah. Some good players in there.
Aye, and still a couple of your muckers still there, Durrant and McCoy still there for your first time round.
Aye. So it was an easy settling process, you know. Again, mixing with players that I knew, and I was going back as a World Cup player, European Championship player. So I had a reputation in my own right as an international player. So I didn't have anything to fear. You know, you may get younger players going back who haven't had that much experience, but I certainly was going back as an experienced international player. So, you know, I have respect for everybody there. I think everybody had a lot of respect for me going back as well, making that decision and trying to make the club stronger and more successful that season, which we did. Yeah,
it was a fantastic campaign. I mean, you were part of some magnificent games that will be in Rangers folklore forever. You played away at Ellen Road, you played at home against Leeds. 2 magnificent cup ties,
Yeah. I mean, the Battle of Britain was just phenomenal. Again, it was like early on in my time back, and every game just seemed to be bigger than the next one. But that's what you want, you know. That's why I went back to Rangers. It was for that challenge, you know. And I was so happy I did. You know, I would have had opportunities if I didn't decide to go there to maybe move abroad. You know, but looking on benefit hindsight, it's the best decision I've ever made, because it's one of the best teams I've ever played in.
Mm-hmm. We played against Leeds on the Wednesday night, and then we played the League Cup final on the Sunday against Aberdeen. So Scottish football, not really helping teams with European success.
Yeah.
But the away tie on road, I had the privilege to be there that night on road, and the whole defence, yourself, Richard Gough, Davy Robertson, Andy Gorham, John Brown, were absolutely magnificent, mate, who just let the team play. That was a great game, mate.
Yeah. I mean, both games were great, but I think that you're right, the one at Ellen Road was one that they thought they were going to win, you know, and we won the first leg, but they thought they were going to win the second leg quite comfortable. I mean, they had a fantastic team as well. I mean, they had some top players playing for them. Cantona, you know, he doesn't get much better than that. But, you know, we knew we're well organised, we relied, fought for each other. We knew even if we lose a goal, we're going to go and score one. But it always helps when you get a goal early on in the match. And 2 goals from McCoist and Haitley were out of this world.
Top draw. Great night for the club to just make a mark, you know. And it was the first Champions League. You recognise what you were part of at the time, how it was going to change football?
Not at all, no. I mean, I still distinctly remember the music getting played. But no, it was a new thing, so you were aware that it was going to be big, but you know, to be part of that early days of the Champions League, I still talk about that when part of what I'm doing at the moment is assessments with younger players, and you mentioned that, play the first couple of games in the Champions League, and they're just that used to watching it now and watching top games. Like, there were some top games going back early in the day as well, I can assure you, and probably a lot better players going about.
They were magnificent games. I mean, obviously, the first game we played in, it was a home tie to Marseille. Obviously, their cup-winning team will always be tainted. Did you have any sniff of that as players, that there was something underhand?
Not at the time, no. I think as players, they just try to stay away, stay clear of the politics. But it wasn't until after the event that you heard the rumours going about that something untoward had happened, and it was all a bit unfortunate, because I think that was a real opportunity that Rangers could have actually won. Can you imagine Rangers won the inaugural Champions League? It would have been fantastic. But we went 10 games unbeaten in the Champions League. I don't think there's many teams that can say that now.
It was a quality opposition, because even though Marseille was tainted, they were a right good side. They were some top players. Club Brugge were a top side, and the Russian champions.
CSK Moscow, they were brilliant. They to me, I thought they were one of the best teams in the tournament. Skill-wise and possession-wise, they were unbelievable. I just don't think they wanted to score goals. They just kept a hold of the ball all the time. But they were a very, very talented team. And
then, ultimately ended in, we were unsuccessful. We went right to the wire. Marseille won. We drew with the Russians. It was a glorious failure. But the night in Marseille, when Rangers scored, I thought that was a night. We had them on the ropes. And just a bounce of the ball, we got our goal. We're in a European Cup final.
Absolutely. That's success and failure is a thin line in any sport. And that night, it was really muggy. I remember my older brother travelling all the way in the train to Marseille to watch me play. It was a great night for Rangers. But they're the matches that the Rangers have to be involved in, to take the club to the next level. That they need to be playing in these high-stake events and matches, because it makes the players better, that's for sure. And it takes the country to a different level as well.
And then you won the treble. First season back, Champions League legend, 44 games undefeated, and a run against the English champions, French champions, Russian champions, Belgium champions, Danish champions. You won the treble. And I've got to say, not that long ago, I watched that cup final played at Celtic Park, Aberdeen and Rangers. We won 2-1, and it was a magnificent game. Magnificent game. I forgot the quality of the match.
Yeah, that was it. Obviously, you've won the League Cup, as you've won the league, you get to the Scottish Cup final, and you're playing at Celtic Park. It makes it a bit more tension there, I suppose. But again, I think the way we played throughout the season, we were getting into that match knowing we were going to win it. There's no doubt how difficult Aberdeen would make it for us, but we knew that we were going to win that match. Every player, again, gave their all. It played so many games throughout the year. Again, high pressure, high stakes games, but every player on the day just could lift that extra 5-10%, and that makes the good players better players. They can do that.
You played 53 games that season, yeah?
93,
92, 93. In 86, 87, you played 53 games as well. That's a
lot
level
of football.
Consistency. Aye, that's a level of consistency. And I said, you must have been very fortunate with injuries. Richard Gough had come in. Was he a different leader for Terry Butcher? Was there a marked difference?
I would say probably slightly that Goughy wasn't as... Terry was a little bit louder than Goughy. Goughy was more a leader on the park, whereas Terry was a bit more vocal off it. And that would be the only difference. But both of them were world-class players in my book.
Yeah, top draw, the two of them. I would say maybe Richard a bit more athletic, but they both had strengths.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. I think as the years go on or went on, it was apparent that the athleticism of players was getting stronger. You know, if you couldn't run faster, you didn't have the stamina, you were going to struggle in sport. And that's down to the sports science and how players are progressing throughout the years and diets have become better.
So we'll move on to the next season. You've won the treble. We'll not talk about the Olivia Sofia tie, yeah? We'll park that one, yeah?
I know.
We'll let that go, yeah? And then you've won the next 2 trophies. Success is coming, yet that's 5 trophies in a row you've won at the club. You've parted them all. McCoist has done it again, come off the bench. I think stone and a half overweight. Does an overhead kick, wins the cup for us.
I know. That was fantastic. I mean, it was just, you know, again, we go back to the team. We just know that we're going to get opportunities and we have the players to create chances and the players that are going to score goals. And I did score in the semi-final against my old club, Hearts, as well, which was a delightful moment. It was always good when you score against your ex-club for some reason. I don't know why, but it was good. Because I think sometimes supporters think, you won't try against that team because it's your old team. You actually try harder for some reason. But it was good. It was another great season. You know, it just seemed to get better and better.
Yeah. I mean, at that time, your career, you've got to think, I must be no bad at this football. I've got 10 years. I've been to World Cups. You've been to European Championships. You've won every medal that you possibly won. You've came close in Europe. You became a top professional. Did you realise, or did you just take it as this is life?
No, I think you realise that. But what you do realise as well is you need to continue. You can't rest on your laurels.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's why, you know, I still keep myself fit. You have to keep going. You know, you're used to training every day. And for me, it's about the passion you have for sport and trying to be professional. You have to keep going, and when you're in that football environment and playing for a top club like Rangers, you know, to maintain those high standards is not easy. It's not easy, and I appreciate how lucky I've been that because I trained really hard when I was younger. I think that allowed me to have that level of consistency and not pick up as many injuries. I had 1 or 2 minor ones, but nothing to it. It was more wear and tear because of the amount of games I had played. So I did have a high level of consistency. But that goes back to my younger days and playing when I was 17 in the first team and playing with top pros. It made me appreciate, well, how did they get to that level? This is how they did it. You know, so I had that in my locker, in my sort of background, that I knew how to go about it.
Yeah, but see, you've played in an era where the game's changed. The game had changed when you started playing to when you that 10-year spell. Particularly our club had changed beyond all recognition.
Yeah, night and day. I mean, even when I made my debut, I mean, I was a football playing centre back. I get brought up, I mean, apart from watching Rangers, but I watched players like Rudy Krol playing for Ajax and Holland. But football playing centre backs, that's the way I get brought up. You know, that's the way I wanted to play. So when you're playing with players like Tom Forsyth, who's your hero, he wasn't like that. He could play like that. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't the fact he wasn't skillful, but that's not the way he played. You know, it was like get the ball out of the danger zone as much as possible. Nowadays, you're watching players, centre backs, dribbling in their 6-yard box or 18-yard box or passing the ball around about the 18. You know, that if we played like that, Jock Mullins would never have stood for that. You know, you're just taking a chance, a gamble, and the experienced players wouldn't have taken that or accepted that. So I was always a sort of modern day centre back, trying to learn the game and trying to play the best style of football that I could do. And I think that's why I ended up playing in midfield and playing the right back, because I could play I could pass, I could control it from my height. I was pretty, I was nimble on the ball, so I was pretty skillful.
I was skillful,
yeah.
But, yeah.
But for a tall lad and possibly known as a centre back early in my days, people weren't used to that, so it was a bit unusual. But nowadays, it's pretty common, which is good to see.
Would you enjoy playing the way they play the centre backs now in the modern era?
Yeah, it wouldn't bother me at all. I think they're actually overplaying now. That's a problem, and I think you get away with it if you're good at it. Problem is, a lot of clubs are trying it and they're not good at it. So I think there has to be a balance between playing like that and playing another style. And the successful ones are good at it.
And what about our own club centre halves at the moment? He's improved that area of the team, Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, I think the team's, since Steven's come in, it's been a big improvement. He's brought in some good players. I still think we're short in a few areas. I think when the injuries mount up, then you can see where we're short. But the good thing for me is this season we're not losing goals, whereas last season I thought we were losing too many goals that they shouldn't be losing. So although we score goals, we were losing goals as well. We look a bit more solid, which is a good thing. And I think we've got a good opportunity, a good chance this year. I really, really, really hope we do it, as all Rangers fans do, win the league.
We come to the end of your Rangers career for the second time. So Walter said Hearts have come in. Familiar story. What were you thinking? Did you have other offers to go elsewhere, or were you just happy family life?
Well, it was during the season, and I had to think about my career again, and it was a different decision for the first one because Walter's, I was still under contract, and the way players moved back then was slightly different for what it is now, and I just had to think about it, and I thought, to be honest, I played a lot of football for Rangers, and I didn't want to leave. Don't get me wrong; it's not that nobody wants to leave Rangers, but then you have to make a decision. If the club are looking to sell you, then is it better to move on and make that decision rather than for them to make it for you? And then I went back to Hearts, and I think it was more difficult the second time going back to Hearts than what it was the first time. But I made the decision to do it anyway.
Yeah, you went back there, and obviously great success again. You played in the 1994 Scottish Cup final. I've got a memory of that. I think you were chasing Lloydrup. I can't remember, but that was a magnificent display by Rangers. But Hearts had a decent team, and obviously you got revenge in 1998 when you captained the team to their first trophy in a long, long time.
Yeah, 98 was I think, again, another cup final at Celtic Park. I seem to be lucky playing there. That was Hearts had a good team then. They had a lot of young players, and a mixture of foreign players: Stefan Adam, Thomas Flogo, Jules Rousset, playing Stefano Salvatore, who's no longer with us as well now, playing. So it was a good mixture of the Scottish boys and the overseas players, and it was a really good squad of players, and we played well in the day. And again, the cup final was about getting taking your opportunities. It was scored early on, the penalty, and got a second, and we managed to hold on. But it was a fantastic day for the club.
Well, you scored before I got in my seat.
Yeah, that was more or less like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Honestly,
I think we scored before I even got on the pitch.
So and that was obviously it was a great day for our club. It was an end of an era. Our team was breaking up. Ali McCoy's Dean Durant's last game. Let's just say the referee made some contentious decisions, but I don't like blaming referees. But
I know. I've been on the end of both sides, the contentious ones that go for you and the ones that don't go for you. I think again that goes back to it doesn't matter how successful you are. Teams they have to change because it doesn't go on forever. You know, we would all like that 92-93 team to keep playing forever, but it just doesn't happen. Wear and tear and players' age, and you know, it does catch up with you. And again, the amount of games I played an incredible amount of games. Played over 450 games for Hearts over my 10 years as well. It's a lot of football. You're
20th on the Hearts all-time record appearance list, and considering you've spent half your career at Rangers, you made 620 league appearances in total. Rangers Hearts. Obviously, you went to Australia. I'm going to touch on that, and then a few games with Greenock Morton as your career developed.
Yeah,
I've got to say it again. You were never injured.
Yeah, well, I did pick up the odd injury and I had a few minor operations, but that's a lot of football, and that's when you're playing that amount of football, and that's the Rangers especially was at a high level, and in between times of playing in the World Cup finals, the European Championships, you'd very little break, so your body wasn't healing. It was constant. You might have had a week off, but when you're playing those high pressure games, you didn't have enough time to actually get yourself fit. You were running on sort of empty a lot of the time, whereas if you get a break and you can rest your body, then you can build up your fitness levels again. Sports scientists will tell you that it's recovery is every bit as important as the physical training. But back then it was just playing year round. And thinking about the World Cup in 1990, then through to 92 and all the games in 92, 93, 94. That's a lot of football. I hate to imagine the amount of football I played in that 5-year spell. It was non-stop.
Really successful, as I said. Two major championships that Scotland thought was going to happen all the time. Then we've only qualified for two more since then. What was your memories of Italy and Sweden? Did you enjoy them?
Well, yeah, I loved every minute of it. Italy was fantastic. We'd been out there in the January, and that was winter time to look over the camp where we were going to stay, just outside Genoa, and then going over in the summertime and part of the World Cup squad and playing all the games. It was a great memory. And we're again a bit unlucky. If we'd have, I think if Uruguay had drawn the last game, we'd have qualified. And we lost to Brazil in our last group game, and a late goal, which was unlucky as well.
Could have been worse. You could have been Murdo McLeod that night, eh?
Absolutely, right. I did it so on. And then in the European Championships, we're in a group with Germany, Russia, and Holland. Ex-World Cup winners. And back then, 92, there was only 8 teams qualified for the European Championships out of all of Europe. But I think to qualify for the European Championships now, you get 10 rolls of the dice. So back then, Scotland were part of the top 8 in Europe, and probably higher than that the way we finished.
Yeah, if you're the 10th unlucky loser now, you qualify. I think.
Exactly, how.
They were good campaigns. I mean, obviously, you're right, the groups were tough and we didn't qualify, but there was no disgrace in both occasions.
None at all. I think you're at the peak of the footballing career, playing in these tournaments and playing against top teams, and you have to be at the top of your game, but there's no disgrace. I think the size of Scotland and what we've achieved previously, it was a great honour.
So your career's moving on. You ended up going down under. How was that for an experience?
Well, I sort of Hearts. I could maybe stay another year at Hearts, and then had a chance to move to Austria, and one or two other places in Europe. But Stuart Monroe was the manager, the head coach at the club, and because I knew him, obviously we played together, I thought, I've played that much football and I need to be somewhere that the climate's a bit better for the heat, because it doesn't take as long to warm up, not as hard on your physical body, just playing through the summer, and somewhere I can enjoy and learn and help young players come through as well. So that was the main reasons for going to Australia, and it turned out like that. It was you're playing in 40-degree heat, so you can't run about in that heat. So the older you are, you just use your head and let young players run about until they fall down. But I really enjoyed it. It was a great experience, and there was a lot of good young players there. Who, me and an ex-player called Mike Conroy and Stuart Slater, who played for Celtic, were both all at the club at the same time. So we were a sort of experienced overseas players who were brought along to help the young Aussies along, and I'm sure they appreciated it.
Then you came back to Scotland with Morton and dipped your toe in coaching.
Well, Morton at the time didn't actually have a club. They were like being insolvent, so they had to start from scratch. So it was a matter of building a new team and me playing as sort of player manager or player coach, which wasn't easy coming back from the summer of Australia to a winter in Greenock. I can assure you, it's night and day. But that never worked out, unfortunately. I think the coaching side of the game I really, really enjoy and loved, but the managerial side of it, there was a lot of politics involved at the time, and I wasn't prepared for that.
Different job altogether, being a manager.
Absolutely, and you need the right people around about you. And again, because it was like Morton had been insolvent, there was all new members of staff, and everybody was just learning. It wasn't right. I took the job, and if I'd made a mistake in the career, a few mistakes in the career, that was one. I should never have taken a job. I should just continued as a player at the time, a player coach, rather than become the manager.
And that was the end of your playing career, mate. I've got to say, for a boy that signed for Pollock/Gap Cost United, made his debut at 17, only playing 2 major championships, won the Scottish Cup with Hearts, their first trophy in 36 years, won the league with Rangers in 86, 87, 92, 93, 93, 94, Scottish Cup in 92, 93, Scottish League Cup 93, 94, and 10 years later you won your 4th League Cup. It's not a bad collection of medals, mate.
No, it's not one I'm proud of and honoured to have represented Glasgow Rangers, that's for sure.
You're the guys that you played with, some real top players, against and with. Who were the guys that really stuck with you? Who the guys do you still keep in contact with? And who were the characters, mate? Briefly, because I know you keep going on night with that, yeah?
I know. Keeping in touch with players is always difficult, because I think when you get out of football, then you've got to concentrate and get a job, and I'm busy enough at the moment. But I remember doing a course called Craig Law, which is in East Lothian, and I bumped into Bobby Russell. He was playing it a day out with some friends, and I was so happy to see him, because again, he used to pick me up when I was a young kid. So you don't lose touch with players. You might lose touch with them, but you don't lose that sort of friendship or bond that you have with them over the years. So it's not the same as seeing them in the dressing room every day, but as soon as you meet somebody, one of your ex-colleagues, it feels like you're back in the dressing room as quickly as if you've left it. There's a lot.
Top player, Bobby Russell, huh?
So Bobby was a brilliant player. I mean, it's unfortunate with knee injuries, but he had another one, left and right foot. He could do anything. If he was a modern day player, he'd be, well up there. And playing with Davy Cooper was just magical. He was magical. He was such a great left foot. He was so talented.
And the man that scored the goals, give you some laughs along with side kicks.
Aye, Ali was a brilliant player. I mean, I think when you've got that mix of talent and personality, it's hard to beat. Him and Durant, and Derek Ferguson, another talented player, a personality. We Durant, laugh a minute, but supremely talented. These players could have played anywhere back in the day. Could have played anywhere, but they choose to play for Rangers. And I think that's the point I was making earlier, that it's for us, and then I'm speaking on behalf of Ali, Durant and Fergie, such big clubs to play for. big club to play for, but you never forget it, and you appreciate every minute you had of it.
Did you love the dream, mate?
Absolutely. I still think about it.
Yeah, I've never go away, mate.
Never go away.
I don't know where the times went, but I can't thank you enough. I could talk all night about your career because I don't think I was looking at it. I think it was every one of your cup finals, yeah, even the Hearts one that you won.
Yeah.
And so the vast majority of your games, and you had a great career, mate. And don't let anybody take that away from you. You're on that Hall of Fame, and you'll never be forgotten, mate.
I know. No, I appreciate that. It's something that, you know, I've got to sometimes nip myself, and I never talk about my career apart from like doing this. I never talk about my career, but when times I do think about it, I talk to my son, you know, and you're getting a lot of things like photographs sent through different social media platforms, and there's an old photograph that, my God, there was one sent on Twitter the other day there. It was the John Gregg taking pre-season training. And it was just outside Ibrox, and all the players. I was at the back. I was like 16, if not 17, and all the players are running with their football boots on the street. You know, you wouldn't get that nowadays. And a black and white photograph as well. So
was that going up by the flats? Was that going up by the flats? Aye, I know.
Yeah.
I've seen that before. Aye.
Yeah, I mean, they're great. When you see those photographs, you think, I was back there. I was playing for Rangers at that time. That was unbelievable. So it makes you appreciate it even more. You know, you never forget it. It just sometimes you're busy doing other things now and then you have to. But when you do, the memories do come back. It's brilliant. I love it.
Have you went and spoke to any supporters clubs, any of the sportsmen's dinner, etc.? Because I've got to say you've come across excellent tonight, talking about your career, and I'm sure you've got a lot of funny anecdotes you could tell when people have had a few drinks.
Yeah, I've never really been into the after dinner speaking. I don't mind doing the Q&As, things like that. Question and answer. They're probably more my thing. But I do enjoy talking about it. It's a right platform to talk about it because you're a Rangers show, and hopefully people appreciate it. You know, when you hear from somebody who's been fortunate enough to live the dream, I do appreciate it.
If you could turn back time and you were standing in the tunnel for one game, what would it be?
Oh, it's a number of games. I think the Leeds United game. Ibrox, because that was unbelievable. That atmosphere before the start was unbelievable. When you get it, I think.
Claiming that first goal, Dave?
No, I'll claim an assist.
Right, okay.
I'll give it to Stuart McCall, another ex-room mate.
He could play, yeah?
He's a great player. Again, another. That's brilliant management for you. The way Walter could put players in, blend players, and make sure they played well together. It's a talent in itself.
Him and Fergie that season, that 92-93 season, were immense for us,
Absolutely. Brilliant. You know, unbelievable.
Listen, thanks for your time.
Okay, you're welcome,
Ox. The memories, and I'm sure our listeners will love hearing the Dave McPherson story. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, mate, and I can't thank you enough.
No problem. It's a pleasure as well, Ox. Take care.
You look after yourself.
Will do.
Cheers,
Thanks.
Dave.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, Bridge, did you enjoy that, Marker?
I did, you know. I think listening to him, he sounds a bit different to what I remember whenever I heard him speaking. But my goodness gracious, matured. Sounds a really nice guy, actually. A really, really nice guy. I know you were you quite liked him. When I was a bit younger, I wasn't too sure he was the answer to everything, you know, but you can't take anything away for the career. What a career he had. Fantastic stuff. Absolutely brilliant. So well done. I thoroughly enjoyed the interview. Thoroughly enjoyed listening to you and him speaking. Brilliant.
I've got to say, what a gentleman and what a pleasure to talk to once again. Real credit to your club and a first-class individual. And when you dissect his career, mate, some of the stats were actually surprised me. I didn't realise how successful the international stat blew me away. 20-odd caps, and he played 6 games at the finals. No many Scottish players have done that, mate.
No, you're right. Most assuredly, he was with Rangers. He was most assuredly looked fondly on, and was picked and thought of a lot higher than he would have been with. Well, I'm not saying he wouldn't be happy with Hearts, but he was certainly. I wonder what his stats was getting caps for Hearts, or when he was playing
most of his caps for Hearts, mate. Most of his caps. He only get 2 caps or something when he was with Rangers, mate.
But very tough, isn't it? Because you think qualities that he's got to just walk into things. He just. I think it's just fantastic. I thought he did really well. I really enjoyed that.
He spanned 3 years for me. He was there with Greggy at the start, and he's playing with guys like Bobby Russell and John McClelland and Tom Forsyth. And then he's into the Souness years, and then he was in with Walter Smith's years when he's playing with guys like Haley and McCoy.
Haley, McCoy, and Trevor Stephen.
Different generations.
Gary Stephen. Most assuredly. Wonderful to listen to, and I'm sure that everybody in the lobby and other Rangers fans listening from all corners of the world, if they were listening on that, they would have thoroughly enjoyed it. Really, really good. Magic. Well done, pal.
Dave McPherson here. One of the good guys. Really enjoyed it. Right, okay, we've got about half an hour left on the show, Bridge. So people want to join us. What's the number?
The number's 0141 356 1972.
Or join us at Skype at RangersRadio. RangersRadio.online. You'll be brought into the call by the one and only Fox and Old School Blue. Phone in and hang up, and the technical team will phone you right back. I think Fox has joined us. Evening, Fox.
Evening, lads.
How we doing, mate?
All the better for listening to that interview. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Well done, pal.
Well, it wasn't me, mate. As I said, what a gentleman. What an absolute gentleman.
He sounds as though he's only 20 years old. That's what I thought. Listen to my old shaky voice, mate, at my age. God, honest to God, listening to him there, I thought he was about 20 years old. Terrific interview. One thing to pull you up on.
No.
Just at the end there. I know you maybe do your rounds of the supporters clubs and that, etc., but I don't think he'll be telling the antidotes. I was loving it, mate. I was laughing my head off at that.
Well, I had a slip of the tongue there. Bridge had a couple of slips of the tongue last night.
Can I just say on that, see us as a support, mate, we tend to love our midfielders and strikers. They go down as legends, but I think we tend to forget all the brilliant defenders we had through my time of watching Rangers. Forgotten people for me, like John Brown, Big Dave McPherson, Craig Moore, etc. All these boys kind of fall back into the limelight away from the superstars as we thought of them at the time that played, as I said, in the midfield and striker positions. But my God, they were good players, weren't they?
Aye. Fantastic. Tom Forsyth, we talked about when he made his debut, mate.
Another one, and it was a nice thing when he said that he could play football, Tom Forsyth, whereas he was thought as just an out-and-out defender. God, we miss so much as a support and what we see on the park and what we remember, didn't we?
Well, you're going to have great memories of... Sorry, pal.
No, you go, Bridge.
I was going to say great memories of the team that Dave McPherson played in, or the teams that he played in, and the managers he worked under. But he wasn't one of these... He wasn't an Alan McCoy. He wasn't a huge personality type guy, But he was really good, and he just did his stuff, smashing stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. When you finish, your career's finished, Fox, professional, you've got international caps, you've got medals, and the boys got them all, mate.
I had a terrific career. as you say, there's no many players that have appeared back at Ibrox for a second spell and been successful. He's amongst that group. I think they'd be lucky if there's another 15 of them like that, mate, you know?
Yeah, I think it's about roughly 20 players that's played for us twice, mate. I need to count that up, but I think it's roughly 20.
Well, you know, it's a big bonus coming back for the second time, and that's for sure.
Well,
Sometimes they don't
one
succeed.
of my all-time favourites, Bridge.
I know, I'm saying that. Some of them are even more than that. Like one of your all-time favourites, yes. And this, I think the second time, if they can knock it off, then it's marvellous for them because they're going to make a couple of bob, you know. I don't know how old and how young players were when they came back to Rangers. I don't know whether maybe somebody in their early 20s coming back would be amazing, you know. Well, you know what I mean? They played for Rangers on. They got away. They go away and it didn't work out for them, and Rangers take them back, which was probably common in the probably 60s, 70s, and 80s.
No, mate, wasn't it common, mate?
No, but it was more common then than it was later on, don't you think?
No, mate. I looked at the start of the day, mate. You'd be surprised if Jim Baxter. Then the next one is
Barry Ferguson done it.
No, after Baxter, who do you think?
Oh, after Baxter.
Come on, Bridge, come on. When we signed him in 69, you were...
Steen?
Colin Steen done it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Of course, he went away to Coventry and came back, didn't he? In fact,
then you have to go right through to... You have to go through to Derek Johnston and Gordon Smith after that. So it wasn't common, mate, for people getting 2 bites.
No, I wasn't. What I'm saying is that some of the players that came when they've... I can't even get the words out. Steen, I don't know how long away Steen was away, maybe 3-4 years. But he was welcome back, big hero. Baxter, huge hero. He came back in the 72, 73, something like that. 69, if I was. 69, what I'm talking about. Maybe that time. I remember going to see him at Ibrox.
Willie Johnson come back, Fox.
Yeah.
Yep,
after a long number of years, you know.
Aye.
But look, mate, there's been a lot of stuff broke today, but obviously we'll talk about a lot about it tomorrow night, and we've got to we'll be under strict instruction for Mrs. Bridgman to keep his blood pressure down. I see the guys in the lobby are talking about it now, so I'm not going to say anything. I'll let you introduce it if you're going to introduce it, but just utterly shocking. I'll give you my opinion, mate. I mean, look, I don't know if that boy meant that. Only he'll know if he meant it. But for me, at any level of football, that's dangerous, serious foul play, dangerous play, whatever you want to call it. It's a red card. Might be an accident. He might meant it. Only he knows. It's still a red card, and I don't understand the rationale. Fox?
I completely agree with you, whether he meant it or not. The compliance officer today, she had the chance to rectify the mistake and didn't. And I think that's common with anything that happens with Rangers. I think it'd have been a different kettle of fish if it was any other player rather than Alfredo Morelos. Do you think it would be entirely different? You mean from the SFA / compliance officer type thing? Or are you talking about for the fans or for the other teams? Because I think that should be a common law that says if you injure somebody, it doesn't matter what it is. If you injure somebody, but with that young, Morelos will get seriously. Well, it looked like a serious injury at the time, and the referee never even gave a free kick. Remember the one was he playing for Livingston? Was it Lamy? And he came through and he took out young. Aribo smashed his face with the boy's elbow. And I thought to myself, what's going to happen here? Is the guy getting sent up? No. I mean, utterly, I can't believe it. That boy was out the game for about 3 weeks with a sore face. Okay, one of the worst challenges in the last few years was the boy Power on Graham Dorrans, mate. Absolutely, disgraceful stuff. Ruined his career, you know. What about the one when Powers kicked? Who was it he kicked in the head? Ryan Jack. The referee never even gave a free kick.
I don't remember him getting a free kick. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
So that's obviously the kind of standard of refereeing.
Well, that just shows you what's not a foul in Scottish football.
Oh, I mean, it's absolutely... Well, in modern day, right, the modern day, even if you said, let's look, this last two seasons, this season, we have to look out for you're going to cause damage to another player if you're a bit reckless. So you're going to get charged with recklessness, no matter what it is. You go in there, you knowingly go in there and you do whatever you're going to do and you cause damage. Even if it's an accident, it's your fault. No matter what, it's your fault. So you're going to take the blame. Sorry, he never even the referee. Apparently, the referee even said to whomever that he never saw it. Or never saw all of it. Now, I don't think. I know that they're looking for the referees to come back with a unanimous decision on that. I'd put money on it now if I was a betting man. I'd bet that not one of those referees gave that as a free kick. Every one of them's probably said no, it wasn't. Simply because it was Alfredo Morelos and Rangers.
Well, I get the point that Fox is making. I think your manager made it, Fox. If it's the other way about, Clancy's get the red card out of his pocket before the other guys hit the deck.
Was it not Aberdeen that the referee missed the incident and still sent off Alfie, mate?
He never even saw it.
I don't think he saw that either, but as soon as he seen Morelos was involved in it, that was enough to make his mind up to take action. And he had a clear view of that on Saturday. And to say he couldn't see for players is an outright lie. And for the compliance officer, what's her name, Claire something, innit? She had time to look at the actual footage for the game, all different angles. To say that wasn't a red card is totally wrong.
Yeah, mate. Couldn't agree more.
But can I just say that, technically speaking, it doesn't get to the compliance officer. If there's a question asked of the referee, did he see everything? If he didn't see everything, then it goes to the three referees, and then they give their verdict. And from there, if they said the referee's made a mistake in that, then the compliance officer makes the offer. I'll offer you a 2-game ban, a 1-game ban, or whatever. So technically speaking, it goes from the compliance officer's office to the three referees, and they've got to make it, So it's made it to the three referees, and it's missed out on the next step, which would have gotten a ban. I'm not caring about the guy getting a ban or not. I'm caring about Clancy. He should get the ban.
Aye. That's the point, Bridge. I mean, what do we gain out of that guy getting a ban? It weakens that team when they play some of our rivals. The guy made a mistake, and not for the first time. Mr. Clancy should be demoted and should be slowly finished with top flight football. And we need to turn we need to put him under the spotlight. We need to put pressure on him and do the right thing, because this is turning into be a farce. Anybody who's listening to this show for a long time would know that. I mean, you're different, Bridge. I see refereeing differently for you. I respect the referees. I'm a respectful guy, unlike yourself. Your language is a disgrace.
What a shocker.
Blood pressure, Bridge. Blood pressure.
Right. But you can't ever game a football without a referee. But the guy is either totally incompetent or he's a cheat.
We've got a number of referees, in my opinion, the SFA have got a number of referees.
Have you seen the Hibs one at the weekend, Bridge? Did you see that?
I never seen it, pal.
Did you see it, Fox? What they call him? Another one.
Aye, I did.
Another howler, was it? Another column howler, was it?
Oh, clear handball in the box, and apparently against Hibs, as clear as it was. They're getting penalties when balls bounce up off of players' bodies and accidentally touch their hand. But that was as clear as you can get as a penalty kick, Ox, eh?
Oh, unbelievable. I think he caught it with his two hands.
And that would have been a penalty. So what can you say? You just can't say in. Oh, you could say a million things, but you can't say in when it's just blatant. The SFA really do. The SFA who run this really do have to have a good look at themselves, because they must see that as well and go, oh my God, it's not a wee mistake at work anymore. It's not a wee mistake at work. It's diabolical. It's cheating. It's as simple as that.
Enough for you.
All right.
We've got 20 minutes left. If people want to join us to keep Bridges' blood pressure down, what's the number, Fox?
The number is 0141 356 1972.
Or join us at Skype at RangersRadio.online. We've brought into the call by the technical team. If you use the phone up, hang up, and we'll phone you right back. And you can go right through to the two Rangers radio legends, Fox and Bridgeman.
Foxy preferably, of course.
we bring him on for the ladies, Bridge.
I know he has got that touch about him, hasn't he? He's got that touch. There's a wee attraction there. There's a wee attraction there.
What do you think about Alex Salmon? I've got that touch
well,
about me.
You've got it. Yes, you've got it. Well, I don't know about that one.
I was thinking there of Warren Beatty.
There you go. Oh, Foxy, who do you think I'm, Alex Salmon? Very good, Fox. Very good. Brilliant.
It's a shocking decision, but we move on. Morelos is on the plane today. He go to Gibraltar, Fox. Good sign.
Sorry, I never caught that there, Rocks.
Well, he'll be on that Tinder again, Bridge.
Oh, I know. There'll be some women after his body, that's for sure.
I said Morelos was on the flight to Gibraltar, I believe, today, mate.
Good sign. That's a good sign. I hope maybe just a couple of stitches he's got, mate, and no serious damage. So hopefully he's fit enough to play in Gibraltar, mate.
I think...
Oh, we've got a caller coming in. I'll take that, Bridge, all right?
Go for it, bud. Go for it.
Evening, caller.
How you doing, Ox? It's Alan from Hampshire.
How you doing, Alan? All right,
hello, Alan. How's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. Can I just say what a fantastic interview. Absolutely fantastic.
Well, people of a certain vintage, it brings back a lot of memories, Alan, huh?
Oh, yeah, certainly does. No, it was brilliant. Just, I think it was touched earlier on. He sounded, Big Dave sounded like he was still in his 20s. He did. Sounded still young.
Aye. What a gentleman, honestly, what a gentleman.
Oh, it came across fantastic. Absolutely brilliant interview. But when I was on the show last night, I did say that young boy would get away with it. Because it proved then that Clancy was a cheat.
Actually, you did say that. I remember that. You said that. You did say that.
And this is geared Clancy up for the first Old Firm game. We're going to get a player sent off, and Celtic will get a penalty out of absolutely nothing.
And this
is gearing up. Because
that's pretty good that Bridge remembers it, really, you know.
Must have.
No, he did say it. I doubted it in my mind. I doubted it. I didn't think it would. I thought he would have moral certainty to get it.
I see your rationale, and after his last performance at Parkhead in an Old Firm game, I get where you're coming from. I think our job at Lock Fox is to go and win. Obviously, first and foremost Thursday, then on Sunday, and we take it for there. We get Sunday's game out of the way and take it for there, Fox.
Aye, Thursday's important, mate. Fully professional display. We're hoping for a win and nothing else, mate. We can't afford to be anything else, and then move on to Sunday. Hibs game at Easter Road will be a tough tie for us, and hopefully we can maintain our ability to not let in goals and score them at the other end.
I get your point, Alan, but I think it's important that we go on a roll now and we build up to the game you're talking about with hopefully maximum points, mate.
Definitely, and I think we've got it in our bag to achieve that, no problem. But I read somewhere that obviously we're playing the Red Imps on Thursday and we're playing the Green Gimps on Sunday.
I seen what you done there. No bad, but leave the jokes to me,
That's all right. I'm your apprentice. But yeah, like you mentioned, we need to keep this roll on. I mean, we're doing so well, and I think leading up to the Celtic game,
I still think we wouldn't have conceded a goal. And if that would be the case, we're getting into that game very confident. I don't see them beating us.
Yeah, here's one for you. This might be a bit subtle for you. The roll on, are you sure?
Absolutely sure.
Shocker. What a shocker you are, Barry.
Maybe you'd be better than the gags. But you're right, Sunday's game becomes, after Thursday out the way, I take it as a victory, Fox. Sunday's game becomes massive, because if we go to Easter Road and we win, we're beating Pittodrie, we win, we start ticking these off, difficult games out the way, Foxy boy.
Aye, without a doubt. I think we're coming into a wee run. A couple of hard ties for us away from home. So let's just hope that we can get through them unscathed. And before they're unbeaten as well until the international break. And I think I'll be really, really happy at that.
I'll be really, really happy on Friday morning when Rangers have scored a couple of goals. Let's say a lot of goals in Gibraltar. That's what I'm looking for. Go out there, win that game and win it well. And you can score probably as many as you want out there. That's what I think. Just go and do it.
Come on. You're happy every day, but you're happy in the morning when you get up, aren't you?
Absolutely, pal. And Rangers winning is always a bonus for me. Always a bonus.
Yeah. But Fox is right. We're coming into a tough run of games, Al.
Definitely. But you know something? I think we're ready for it. We are ready. I think the way Gerrard's got that team performing just now, make sure the back door's shut. Just let the midfield and forwards go do their thing.
We talked about that defensive, how important it was, and two good sides, that 86-87 team, 92-93 team. You could argue they were both built in defence, Fox.
Well, that's the thing. The thoughts back in the days was you don't lose goals, you win games. And I think we've had some really great defences over the years. And the 92-93, I think you talked about in the interview, was one of probably if people were voting on it, would be the best team for a long time for Rangers.
It certainly looked like it, didn't it? It was a marvellous era.
Mm-hmm. Aye, they were playing against decent sides and obviously robbed in Europe. Robbed. The other team bribed the referees to knock us out.
They were some, as Dave was saying, they were some great sides back then, Ox, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. Aye, fabulous sides.
Can I just say something? Go on, pal. Go on. On you go.
No, on you go.
I was going to say, just to get this out of my head, I object strongly to the way the press are treating our manager. Someone asks him a question, he answers the question, and gives his own opinion, an honest opinion, and he gets attacked from all angles in the press and social media. And I object strongly to that. I would ask our manager not to answer any more questions.
That was Rangers TV answered the question for Bridge. We've been joined by Dale. Evening, Dale.
I just I come in again the tail end of the Dave McPherson interview, and he was talking about that game at Ibrox against FC Bruges. I actually managed to get to that game with my dad. I'd been working down the Channel Tunnel, so I was earning good money in that. So I got a couple of tickets. One of the boys got me a couple of tickets, and the gaffer gave me a couple of days off. And I was actually standing right behind Nizzy when he hit that ball. And I just couldn't believe that it actually went in. It was ridiculous the way it went. It went about 3 different directions before it went in the back of the net.
Do you know what's sad? About that, Dale?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we played on the Saturday against them. Their place. We ended with 44 game record. I think after about 20 minutes, Nizzy went off and never played again.
Aye, that's right. I remember that now. Aye, it was just a career-ending injury that he got. and I'm glad to hear he's fighting a good fight now. But as I say, I always remember that was probably the last game I was at, while I was still in Scotland. Was that game, so I'll always remember it. And I was happy I was able to get my dad a ticket, because he was always moaning I was earning more money than he was. So at least I got him something back. Oh, I know they do. I do it now. Don't worry about it.
That brings memories back when you say that kind of thing, I'll tell you.
Oh, for goodness sake, aye. I always said I'd never be like my dad. Oh, for goodness sake. Some things never change.
Well, my dad was in the pub with my dad one night, and he says to me, "Listen, son, you need to stop giving that woman as much money as you're giving her." He says, "Because you're giving her more than me."
I know. It's the same thing. Honest to God, it's the same thing right the way through. But it was a brilliant memory, and just that whole 92-93 season was ridiculous. How Rangers, how they progressed through the Champions League and all the rest of it. I mean, that Battle of Britain was unbelievable. It had us all. It was just the most amazing time for me, being a Rangers supporter, and the players.
Guys of a certain vintage deal, like we are, mate. It seems as if it was yesterday, but it was a long time ago now.
It certainly was. I was watching. It was just all right there. I put it on YouTube, just the highlights for the Battle of Britain, and you don't get it HD, so you get the stripes down either side of the TV and that, right? And you're saying, well, this has got to be old, and then you look at it and you're saying that was 28 years ago. And then you go back and you say, well, what age was I then? Oh, my God, I was just a baby.
Seven.
Oh, no. No, I was a bit older than that. But, it was amazing times. And, getting a glimpse of what Rangers have done in Europe over the past couple of years, it's just great to see them back in there, and competing with the top teams and beating the top teams as well.
If you caught the end of Dave McPherson's interview, go and listen to the rest of it, mate. What an absolute gentleman, and he's got a story to tell, mate.
Oh, you know what? Just really fast. He mentioned Big Jock Wallace. Well, he was obviously there when Wallace was there for the second time. And when I was a ball boy, I was there, in the 70s, right? It was 76, 77, actually. And actually, this is a good thing for you, Ox, because you picked up on...
You were the ball boy 76, 77, right? Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was 75, 76.
75, 76.
Yes,
won
I know.
The treble in 77, 78, and the year you were a ball boy, we won nothing. So
exactly. Exactly, I couldn't catch the ball when every time I went over the bar, so I wasted a lot of time.
Go on,
were you a jinx?
But the Jock Wallace one was... how he was talking there about Jock Wallace, getting him out of his bed and all that when he had the flu. Well, I always remember sitting, that was where the wee bowl of garbage came in the first time I was on, and I was sitting in the dressing room, I was sitting next to Tam Forsyth, and he looked at my tracksuit and he could see the 10 Regal out, where it was the imprint of the 10 Regal was.
The 10 Regal, I love it.
10 Regal, right? And honest to God, we weren't supposed to smoke. I was only 13. But we had no place to put our personal stuff, so we had to transfer it for our Subway stuff into our tracksuit. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you didn't want MD knocking it. No, the MD would have. And of course, he says to me, he says, how about it, pal? And I goes, what do you mean? He goes, he's a fag. And I goes, I don't have any. And he looked and he saw that. He says, you do. I can see him. They're sticking out your pocket, And I actually gave him a fag and he smoked in the dressing room. And that was a generation before, Dave McPherson get there. But Jock Wallace, I remember coming after that and he's like, who's smoking? Tam, put that out. And of course, he just stopped out the flare in the dressing room. And then he looked at the ball boys that were all in there and he says, what are you doing here? Get out of here. You don't belong in here. And he kicked us all out the dressing room, before the game. So there was a wee story for you. But as I say, that was 10 years before that Davey was there. But what a fantastic player. He really was.
I'll tell you what, you're just lucky you weren't a ball boy at the other end of the city, mate. That could have been different.
I may have had a different story to tell.
Yeah, absolutely.
May have been a bit traumatic,
That
perhaps.
could have been very different for you.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway, we've reached that time of the evening. Thanks, Dale, for coming in. Thanks, Alan. Brought to hear from you again as usual, lads. So what are you, Bridgman?
Well, what can I say? What a marvellous evening, I have to say. Thoroughly enjoyed it, Oxy. Thank you very much. Huge big shout out to yourself and Foxy and Old School Blue for setting that up. And of course for the guest, Big Dave McPherson. I just loved it. I hope everybody else enjoyed it as much as I did. So can I just say to all the Rangers fans all over the world, and particularly Rangers fans in here on Rangers Radio, every single one of us, huge game coming up. I'm getting the battle fever on. Keep it going for the Rangers, because the Rangers need us.
And I thank Fox and Old School Blue for doing all the technicals that makes this show up. As I say, thanks to Dale and Alan for joining us. Thanks to Fox and Bridgman, but most importantly, thank Dave McPherson for coming on and joining us tonight. Absolute pleasure. What a gentleman and a true Ranger. Take it away, Foxy boy.
We are the Rangers FC. We are the people, you better believe. We are together, we're doing the bouncy all over the world. We had our troubles, but now they are gone. They tried to kill us, but the Bears, we stood strong. We are together, doing the bouncy all over the world. Lucia by Bronx, for Lancer at 3. The follow, and God save the Queen. You'll hear us singing, doing the bouncy all over the world. In Barcelona in 72, we beat the Russians, but 3 goals to 2. Still celebrating, doing the bouncy all over the world. Glasgow Rangers are back where we belong. Blue Sea of Ibrox, and we're still going strong. We wear our colours, the red, white and blue. We wear them proudly like blue noses do. We are together, doing the bouncy all over the world. The pride of Scotland, but that's nothing new. The pride of Glasgow, and Glasgow is blue. We are together, doing the bouncy all over the world. To be a blue nose, it fills us with pride. We are united, we'll never divide. We are together, doing the bouncy all over the world. Doing the bouncy all over the world. Doing the bouncy all over the world.